Hello, this is Micah Olson, the Effective Agent Team Leader. Just want to talk to you and answer a question that almost every homeowner that I'm working with on short sales will ask at the start of the short sale process. And that question is, what's the timing? How long is this going to take? What can I expect? There's two different paths that we're going to talk about. The first one is called a cooperative short sale. The second one, we'll call it a traditional short sale. Within the cooperative short sale, basically what that means is we are going to your bank and getting an agreement in place that says we will allow a short sale. Here's how much we want you to sell the property for. And basically, we're working with them prior to having an offer on the property to determine what they would be willing to sell it for. The most common cooperative short sale program is with FHA loans. All of those are cooperative. And so the timing on that, typically it takes about 1 to 2 weeks to get all of the paperwork ready. We've done it in a day. If there's a critical situation where we need to postpone a foreclosure, that can happen in a day. But usually getting the 20-something pages of listing paperwork done and collecting 2 years of tax returns and a couple months of bank statements and pay stubs and writing a hardship letter and getting the third-party authorization and financials filled out. I'm finding that for the average homeowner, that's taking about 1 to 2 weeks. Once that is turned into the bank, typically there's about a 45 to 60 day wait. It can happen faster. We've seen a few happen in about 30 days, typically 45 to 60 days. The bank is coming back and issuing that pre-approval letter. And essentially, regardless of the program that you're looking at, whether it's FHA, whether it's HAFA, if you've heard about that, whether it's just a tradition, a standard co-op with your bank, typically that letter will say you're approved to short sell your house and we want you to list it at this price, and we want an offer that is at least this price, and we want the net to the bank to be equal to this. So we get that letter back and really kick up the marketing at that point. And we'll usually wait about 1 to 2 weeks after that to select a buyer. We want to generate some competition and do what we can to get the best buyer possible for you and for the bank. That's another topic, but typically about 2 weeks after that. So you're somewhere between 60 to 75 days out at this point. We send that into the bank. Under most circumstances, the banks are taking about 3 weeks right now to come back and say, okay, yes, this buyer that you just sent us meets the criteria of the pre-approval, and here's your approval letter. If they're not asking for any closing costs and they're meeting all of the terms of the bank, and by closing costs, I mean asking for the bank to pay some of their closing costs, it could happen in about 10 days. If they're paying cash for a property and not asking for anything, it could be a really quick approval process. But typically we're looking at about 3 weeks. If it's a slow bank, maybe 4 weeks. And then they issue that approval letter. From there, you're 30 days away from closing and needing to move out of your house. So that's cooperative. Now on the traditional short sales, very similar process. We compile all of the paperwork. We send it into the bank just to let them know that we're working on a short sale. The first thing they're going to do is come back and say, where's your offer? And we may have one already or we may not, but we get that paperwork sent in. Especially if you're in a critical time frame of a notice of trustee sale coming up or a notice of default has been filed, we want to let your bank know that we're working on a short sale. We market for about 2 weeks. It's about the same as a cooperative. We're just getting an offer up front. We pile that up with all the paperwork, shoot that off to the bank. It takes them about a week to realize that they got it, especially the bigger banks. It floats around in electronic limbo, and then somebody pops up and says, hey, we got some paperwork. And they'll look at it, review it, make sure that that everything is complete, and they assign it over to a processing team, usually called the negotiator. We've got about 30 to 45 days out from the time that they acknowledge that paperwork until we're getting an approval letter from the bank. And at that point, then we have an approval letter. It's in the name of the buyer, and we're typically about 30 days out from there in closing on the property. Now, there's always bumps. There's always, the bank coming back and saying, hey, we've taken a little bit too long to do this. We need updated pay stubs or updated bank statements. So there will be a few delays along the way that'll cause a couple week delay here, or 1 week delay there. And we're finding overall it's taking about 4 to 6 months from getting the paperwork turned into the bank until we're actually closing with a buyer on your home. That can be a little bit longer if we get the approval letter and the buyers say, oh, never mind, we found another house, and then we have to submit new buyers. That can add 30 to 45 days to the process. But we're looking at about 4 to 6 months is pretty good planning. If you have needs of, recently people have said, wow, 4 to 6 months puts us right over the top of Christmas. There's ways that we can work and make it take a little bit longer. If there's a looming foreclosure, we can definitely make it go faster. If you're at a time where you say, wow, we kind of want to wait, and not move before the kids get out of school for summer, there's ways that we can structure the negotiations with the bank to add a little bit of time. One thing that I do not like to do, and hopefully if you're watching this, you're not one of these types of people, but I'm not going to go in and delay the bank process for somebody to just continue living as long as they possibly can without paying their bank any money, if that's the only motivation. There are times when a homeowner needs to save up that money to recoup money that has been lost or to pay off medical bills or things. But so just understand that time frame of 4 to 6 months is flexible and can go a little faster or slower depending on your need. Call me if you want to talk more about the short sale process, timing, what you can expect, or if you have questions regarding any troubling situation with your house, I'd be happy to chat with you. Have a great day.